So what I've got going on behind me is we're building another large timber retaining wall. And a couple things that I want to point out at this stage in the project is the amount of drainage stone aggregate behind the wall. We're backfilling this wall with number 57 drainage stone. Underneath that drainage stone is a French drain pipe. The water's going to be allowed to filter through this rock and into that pipe. It's going to relieve hydrostatic pressure, water pressure that might build up behind this retaining wall. Now, normally this calls for about 12 to 18 inches of gravel behind the wall. We've got at least 2 to 3 feet of gravel behind the wall. Why? Because I want to over-engineer this so we have some peace of mind, some extra insurance. And here's the key with gravel versus dirt. Gravel is self-compacting. You put it in the hole, you spread it out, and it's already at its compaction. We are going to be bringing fill dirt into this project, but we're going to do it much later on, and we're going to fill with more gravel than what is actually necessary in order to have a stronger wall, better drainage, and improved compaction so that the guys don't have to get in there behind the wall and try to compact in and underneath all of these timbers. Which brings me to my next point, which is the dead man reinforcement. That is the reinforcement of the wall behind the face, what you actually see. In a structural project like this, I account for about 50% additional product in order to reinforce this wall. So I measure up what my intended square footage or area of the wall is going to be on the outside, and then I add 50% of material. So if I need 100 timbers, we're going to make it 150 for the structural reinforcement. Now this project is going to use far more than that. Additionally, in a project that is not as structural, if you're just going to hold up some dirt or some landscaped areas, or it's going to be more of a decorative wall, I would account for about 25 to 30% additional material. But again, in a structural project like this, we want to go with about 50%. The other thing that I want to note is it's common when you're building a timber retaining wall to put your dead man in, which is the piece of material that runs perpendicular to the face of the wall that's coming back. And you'll see a lot of times people building them and putting a little T on the end of it, hoping that that little T is going to be enough to keep that wall from coming forward or to keep the face of that wall from shifting forward. What I've found is it's much stronger, and this is why my material overages or that 50% calculation comes into play. What you'll notice is we are tying back not only every 8 feet horizontally, but we're also bringing an entire piece, not just a small T, we're bringing an entire 8-foot section across. So basically, I have a wall behind a wall, and that wall, that secondary wall on the inside, in order for that wall to ever move on the outside, you'd have to move that entire structure. Just isn't going to happen. There's not enough forces that are going to be at play that would move that entire structure. But if you just have a little T on it, all it takes is over time for that little T to loosen up and start to pull that wall forward, which gets into leaning. Now when we're done, we're going to have a driveway sitting on top of this, so we want to make sure to have as much reinforcement as possible. So if you're planning to do timber retaining walls, my suggestion is over-engineer the wall. Put more drainage stone in than what is necessary. Make sure to have a lot of stone in your backfill, minimum of 18 inches, but I tend to put 3-4 feet of stone back there because it just makes my life easier. Yes, the gravel is more expensive, but from a labor perspective, we don't have to go in there with a jumping jack and sit there and compact everything by hand. It just makes our life easier and gives you a little bit more insurance and assurance that this wall is not going to fail. I hope that helps you with your timber retaining wall project, because these are pretty easy to tackle and to